What's up guys, and we're back with some more Genshin Impact, and today we are checking out a video called The Real Dendro Archon and Sumeru's Lie. So, if you enjoy my reaction to this video, you already know the deal. Be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. It helps out greatly. We're going to be trying to hit 4,000 subscribers this month, so if you could tell anybody about the channel, please do. And also, the original video will be in the description box below, because I'm always trying to make sure I give credit to people. So yeah, let's get straight into this. The region that I'm very excited for, Sumeru.
In this video, I will theorize on who the real Dendro Archon is. Is it simply the Lesser Lord Kusanali as the game suggests? The answer is yes and no. If I told you that Sumeru had been lying for over 5 centuries, would you believe me? A secret so massive that confused the players, the characters, and even the translators. I will dive into the original translations, uncover the hints within artifacts and weapons, and describe the characters that Mihoyo created.
Oh, it's Su from freaking Honkai.
Real quick, I want to give a special shout.
Cause Su from Honkai, Sumeru. Listen, I'm just putting the pieces together. I think this is a sponsorship thing, isn't it? Yeah, so we'll just pass that real quick and then get right into this. Is what about here?
So who is the real Dendro Archon? Is it the Lesser Lord Kusanali? The simple answer is yes. At the end of the Inazuma Archon quest, many different translations of the game signifies that the Lesser Lord Kusanali is the god of flower, who is associated with Sumeru. Daneslave calling the Dendro Archon the god of wisdom also supports the naming convention of the Archons. Venti being the god of wind and freedom, Zhongli as the god of rock and contracts, Raiden Shogun known as the god of lightning and eternity, and Kusanali, the god of flower and wisdom.
So that's the next Archon.
Once we start diving into the details of Kusanali, things become fascinating. In the Pali dictionary, Kusa means a fragrant grass, and Nali is described as a hollow stalk. This information alone doesn't give us much to work with until we look at the Jataka tales of Kusanali, found in the collection of stories in telling the previous life of Buddha. In his previous life,
stuff I don't know
Buddha
about.
was born as a lowly grass fairy, living in a humble clump of grass. A certain king who needed a new pillar for his home ordered carpenters to cut down a sacred tree. This sacred tree was the home of a tree fairy that the king knew.
Whimsicott or whatever.
Hearing the cry of the tree fairy, the lowly grass fairy comes to its aid and transforms itself into a chameleon, covering the entire tree to make it appear hollow and rotten, deceiving the carpenters that were sent by the king. It is my belief
so they wouldn't want to get the trees.
Outlines the entire concept of the Dendro Archon. Now, besides the name of Kusanali, the gender of this god is also a topic of confusion. Thankfully, Yaemiko makes it quite clear for us at the end of the Inazuma Archon quest. In many different translations, Kusanali is referred to having a female vessel, and in the Korean and Japanese translation, going far as to give the name Kusanali Devi, literally
I thought it said devil.
A queen. With these indicators, we finally have some clues to work with.
So they're a girl.
Queen that was associated with a specific tree, living within the greenery of the fragrant grass, coming to aid a certain individual upon hearing.
You're killing me with these Pokemon
Does
pictures,
it sound
bro.
familiar? The story of Viridescent Venerer.
Isn't that one of the artifact sets?
It is my speculation that the Lesser Lord Kusanali, or the lowly grass fairy, is the Viridescent Venerer. If we break down the story behind this character, we begin to see many similarities. The Viridescent Venerer was known as the Queen of Hunters, being associated with the term Kusanali Devi. She would often take naps under a specific tree, signifying the sacred tree within the Jataka tales of Kusanali. This hunter was born and raised around the green foliage, plants or grass, leaving behind the subtle fragrance of wildflowers, mirroring the lowly grass fairy living in a humble clump of grass, and Kusa meaning a fragrant grass. From these descriptions, the correlation between Kusanali and the Viridescent Venerer becomes obvious. And as if these connections weren't already enough, Mihoyo adds more detail to the lore that may explain what's really going on with the identity of the Dendro Archon. To start, the original translation of Viridescent Venerer in Chinese means green shadow. Considering what had transpired within the story of Raiden Shogun, I feel that the meaning of green shadow could be foreshadowing that Kusanali is either a temporary stand-in or a simple spokesperson. The identity of Kusanali...
So they're just a stand-in for the actual Archon is what they're saying? They're just there for the time being, just to throw us off. Is that what's going on?
As the Dendro Archon is a facade that was created to deceive the entire world. The story goes...
Oh, I get it now. That's why he was making the connection with the tree. The whole thing with that Buddhist story with the tree was to deceive the dudes cutting down the trees and make the tree look rotten so they wouldn't take the wood. So here they're making us think that we know who the actual Dendro Archon is, but in reality, we don't. They just have somebody there, standing in. Okay. It sort of reminds me, I mean, I'm gonna talk, okay, I'll say this real quick. If you haven't watched the Marvel show Loki, skip past this part. Skip, like, past, like to a minute more or something like that, because I'm about to talk about Loki spoilers if you haven't seen it. It's like, for instance, in the show Loki, of where the higher ups, I forget the exact term for them, but everybody thought that they were the ones controlling, like, all of the time stuff and all that, but they weren't. They were just animatronics. It was like that. That's what I thought of immediately. I'm like, yeah, it's just like that. They're just stand-ins to a higher power just to throw everybody off and make them believe in a lie for the rest of their life. Anyways.
Further to explain that the Viridescent Venerer is the uncrowned Queen of Hunters, mentioning that none could ever bestow a crown upon the Queen of Hunters, since the only one superior to her was nature itself. Nature representing the previous Dendro Archon, the god of woods. And if the baton of archonship was never transferred or left uncrowned, that means one thing: the god of woods is still alive.
That would make sense.
Now, I know that according to the Chinese and Korean translations, it is said that the god of woods had died together with the disaster that fell upon the ancient kingdom. Still, the legitimacy of this specific artifact is very questionable. The entire description is prefaced with the word legend. And to add to this uncertainty, the description of the domain says, after a period of time, the people of this continent lost track of the past. Because of this pretext, it's quite difficult to figure out how accurate this information is. So, let's start cross-referencing. Ganyu explains that the current Dendro Archon is 500 years old. Although she may not fully understand the secrets behind the Dendro Archon, being over 3,000 years old and having witnessed the cataclysm, Ganyu's dialogue could be seen as somewhat credible, suggesting that the god of woods is connected to Khaenri'ah in some way.
You know what's funny? I said Jesus to 500 years old, but isn't like Zhongli like way older than 500? Why am I saying it like it's a big deal?
But to what degree? To explain, it's imperative that we understand the difference between the calamity and the cataclysm. The calamity refers to an implosion within the Eclipse dynasty of Khaenri'ah. Within this dynasty,
we haven't seen Kaya in a while,
with an incurable condition,
say that about a lot of characters,
into the monster of the abyss. This calamity, or the disaster that fell upon the ancient kingdom, occurs moments before the cataclysm. The cataclysm follows soon after. Monsters begin to wreak havoc across the continent of Tevat, which causes the war between Khaenri'ah and the gods, leading to the kingdom's destruction. It is my theory that the god of woods was in Khaenri'ah when the internal calamity first struck. However, instead of dying with the cataclysm that occurred soon after, the god of woods escapes, along with the condition of erosion and death, losing his godly powers and even his sense of sight. Where am I getting this suspicion from? The blind boy that asked for help from the Viridescent Venerer. Immediately following the calamity that took place in Khaenri'ah, the Viridescent Venerer meets a dying boy that was afflicted with blindness under the sacred tree. Seeing that the boy was helpless and being chased by a monster, the hunter quickly comes to the boy's aid. Now, as if this was some kind of a joke, the English translation of this story claims that the blind boy was killed by the monster. However, nowhere within the original translation of Chinese and even in Korean mentions that the boy actually dies. In the original translations, the blind boy was close to death, leaving the story open-ended, just like how the death of the god of woods is shrouded in mystery. I believe that the blind boy and the god of woods is one of the same. It's very suspicious that throughout the entire game, the blind boy and the god of woods is mentioned together only within the story of the Viridescent Venerer. And everything involving this story is hidden behind the concept of perception and deception. So if this blind boy is the god of wood...
This whole thing making my brain work right now. I'm like, huh, Wait a second. I ain't think about it like that. I'm having like a Jimmy Neutron brain blast right now, dude. Jesus.
And is still alive. Where the hell is he? As I alluded to in my previous video, I believe that the backstory of the slimes is a direct link that foreshadows the story of their respective elemental archons.
Really?
Let's deep dive and uncover the cryptic messages hidden within the Dendro slime. There are some who see it as something similar to the whopper flowers, the Dendro slime being the representation of God of Woods, and the whopper flower representing Kusanali, hiding its true form to trick and hunt its prey. The God of Woods is incognito, waiting for an opportunity, and some regard it as a slime that has been parasitized by some special plant. Parasitized reflecting the incurable disease of the God of Woods and
that would explain why the Dendro slimes, they hide. They're trying to camouflage from you, like the story from before with the trees, and then everything connects together. Wow. This is all connecting together so well right now. This is okay.
Plant possibly meaning the mist grass that I previously covered in another video. A plant that contains the power of corruption and karma that is used by the Fatoui and the abyss. From this point of view, might some cultures also see these slimes as having some special medicinal value? Some cultures meaning a different region. And medicinal value, Liue, Boo Boo Pharmacy, Baizhu. I speculate that Baizhu, the blind boy, and the God of Woods are one and the same, slowly dying due to an incurable condition, being afflicted with blindness and having lost his godly powers within the calamity. Personally, Baizhu might be in a similar situation like Daneslave. Obviously, Daneslave's curse is that of immortality, and Baizhu's condition is pretty much the opposite. But the main point is that both are being classified as an uncurable condition. Baizhu is a doctor of high caliber, having the knowledge and skills to cure many human illnesses. But according to herbalist Gui, we learned that Baizhu's illness is something that he can't cure himself. Xiao explained that Baizhu's mortal medicine has no effect on Adepti, hinting that the current knowledge and skills of Baizhu are only effective on humans. Baizhu being unable to cure himself because he is technically a god. Hu Tao's story mentions Baizhu, for his part, had grown ever more relentless in his pursuit of eternal life after meeting Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi was given a body that cannot die by the Adepti, and because Baizhu no longer has his godly powers, he might believe that the power of the Adepti could help him cure his condition, keeping Chi-Chi around with an ulterior motive. Now, what about the blindness? In Chinese, the name Baizhu comes from Atractylose macrocephala. Atractylose is an herb in China that is used for cleansing the blood. And out of its many uses, it is also used to help with nighttime blindness. If we take a closer look at Baizhu...
Who? Like, these people that, like, come up with this stuff, like, they just be looking into the definitions, they be typing, looking into the definitions of everything, just making sure every little piece connects. Like, it makes you really realize, like, how smart writers are at the same time. Jesus. Like, I know I give Genshin crap sometimes for, like, the writing at times, but Lord, right now, I'm gonna give him props. I'll give him props right now.
Eyes, we can notice the obvious slit pupils. In relations to the motif of Baizhu, the slit pupil signifies the eyes of nocturnal snakes that are notorious for having bad sight, possibly hinting towards the nighttime blindness associated with Baizhu's name. Ironically, Baizhu's companion, Changsheng, is the opposite, her eyes depicting a diurnal snake and her name meaning a long life. Maybe that's how Baizhu is able to walk around during the day, with the help of Changsheng. Now, let's take a step back and look at the
That's why they're always together,
involving the entire Mihoyo universe.
The entire
Before we dive
universe.
into it, I want to thank Unreal Dreamer and the Honkai Impact community for helping me make these insane references. If you are unfamiliar, Su is a character from Honkai Impact 3rd.
Yeah, I know Su.
The story of Su closely resembles the concept of Baizhu, Viridescent Venerer, Kusanali, and even the incurable disease from the Calamity. To start, Su and Baizhu are both highly proficient medical practitioners. Su is in search for a cure to fight against the Honkai disease, and Baizhu is trying to find a remedy for his incurable condition. Su is also connected to the story of Viridescent Venerer. Inside the Honkai Impact 3rd manga, we learn that Su saves a boy from a Honkai beast. Interestingly, the boy mistakes Su as a girl, calling him the Lady of the Lake. Maybe even this boy had sight problems. Better yet, maybe the confusion around the gender of the Dendro Archon was planned all along.
That's why they in the different versions they said she and then some said he. That's why. Oh yeah, I'm telling you, Genshin and Honkai, it's gonna connect together. Everybody keeps saying it, right?
The Lady of the Lake is a fairy-like enchantress who fostered and supported a boy. The Lady of the Lake is also associated with a tree and King Arthur. Yet another rendition of the Jataka tales of Kusanali. If we go back to the information regarding Kusanali in Genshin Impact, we learn from Vahid and Inazuma that Kusanali is the provider of Anahitian blessing. The word Anahitian comes from Anahita, a goddess associated with wisdom, fertility, water, and healing. Wisdom is obviously the god of wisdom, Kusanali. Fertility describing the Viridescent Venerer. Water associated with the Lady of the Lake, and healing coupled with Baizhu.
These people that make how do you even figure all this out?
Behind Kusanali, Viridescent Venerer, Su, and Baizhu are all linked together. I mean, seriously, Su is in a bubble universe named the Seed of Sumeru. Even being shown.
Wait, he's in the bubble universe, Seed of Sumeru.
Under a gigantic tree. Now, what's even more interesting is the fact that Su is associated with the character named
Eden. Shout out to Eden.
Eden being portrayed with a chalice or a goblet. Chalice or goblets are often related with the process of alchemy, and Eden's code name is gold. We have another reference indicator. If Baizhu is correlated with gold, this may explain the reason why the god of woods was in Khaenri'ah during its downfall. But honestly, the real question is, why is Baizhu hiding his identity? The answer is simple. Fatoui. The Fatoui was the Dendro Gnosis, but
because of Scaramouche, duh.
She has no Gnosis to give. The Dendro Gnosis is probably still with the god of woods, and I suspect that the Dendro Gnosis is the reason why Baizhu is even still alive. Consider this idea. Archons have two sources of power and existence: their original self and the power of a Gnosis. After giving up their Gnosis, Venti, Zhongli, and A were fine. They simply reverted back to their original selves. But Baizhu's original self is currently afflicted with an incurable disease that affects the body. It's very probable that he would completely fade from existence once the power of the Gnosis is taken away. Now, to hide this truth and to protect the god of woods, Kusanali plays into the role of the Dendro Archon, pretending that she did inherit the Dendro Gnosis. And this is possible since we learned from Inazuma that a Gnosis is not necessary to rule over a region. Even without a Gnosis, A was able to rule over Inazuma without anyone realizing. Now, I'm inclined to believe that the Fatoui is more than capable of finding out the truth and taking the Dendro Gnosis from Baizhu. However, Kusanali has something that no one else can provide to the Fatoui: wisdom and knowledge. According to Lisa, the scholars of Sumeru would do anything for knowledge, and Yae tells us that in Sumeru, the knowledge is managed as a holistic resource. No matter how corrupt or crazy the scholars of Sumeru becomes, Kusanali has no intentions of stopping them, because this knowledge is being used as a leverage to delay the Fatoui from finding the truth and taking the Gnosis from Baizhu. Now, it's quite possible that the Fatoui already knows about Baizhu and are just going along with Kusanali's deception. Maybe they're not taking any actions because the knowledge of Sumeru is invaluable to the Fatoui at the current moment. Whatever the case may be, Baizhu is staying low, being supported by Kusanali, with a lie originating from the ancient kingdom for over 500 years. A secret that was so well kept, even to confuse Zhongli, the oldest Archon. As we can see from Zhongli's first encounter with Baizhu, he had no idea who Baizhu even was. On a different note, here's some copium. I'm sure you've noticed by now, all the Archons have braids in their hair, with their elemental colors being highlighted near the tip. Funnily enough, Baizhu also has this trait. It's just extremely faint. Unlike Venti, Zhongli, and A, who has dark hair to help us differentiate the colors of highlights,
can I show that again?
Hair color is green to begin with, making it extremely difficult to tell. But I'd argue that highlights does exist. Also,
does it?
Baizhu's background might suggest that he's from Liyue. Even so, just like the initial release of Child, which stated that he was from Liyue, might be changed later by Mihoyo. I mean, come on, his outfit literally screams Sumeru.
Yeah, I was gonna say, he doesn't look like he's from Liyue.
Could be fake, like Venti and Zhongli's. And Baizhu has a companion, Changsheng, mirroring Venti and Devolin, Zhongli and Guizhong, and A and Makoto.
You're making a good point right now.
I'm sure we'll get some answers when Baizhu releases, or when we finally get a face reveal of the Dendro Archon. After all, this is just a theory.
It's a good theory.
This video, please smash
that was a
like
damn good theory, honestly.
More content
that made me think very much of what the hell's actually going on with Baizhu over there.
One more special thanks to Tears of Themis and Mihoyo.
All right. So, okay, let me get off this white screen of death.
By Mihoyo themselves.
Okay. Oh my god, bro.
Download Tears of Themis now.
Get me out of here. Okay. But no, and that was a lot to process. I mean, we got like the backstory a little bit, and the fact that just, gee, like my brain right now, I'm just here legit just still processing everything, because that was a bunch. But what I find interesting is on Genshin's Twitter, as of right now, they put a post up with like chibi versions of the characters, and Baizhu was in that too. So I'm wondering if very soon we're actually gonna be getting Baizhu. I didn't think we were gonna be, like, I could be completely wrong, but I wouldn't think we'd get him as a playable character until Sumeru came out, but maybe before, or maybe he's just gonna start getting more screen time in preparation for that new region. I don't know, guys. That was a lot. It's like everything started connecting together, like I was saying before, like the trees and them having to stay hidden and then connecting to the present time in the game. And it's just like, oh. What if Baizhu this whole time is actually putting up an act? You know? And he's trying to get, or he has some type of greater motive that he's trying to figure out from Chi-Chi. It's just, I don't know, it's the whole thing. My brain right now, like, I've got to sit back and I'm gonna just have to really think about everything that happened in this video. And I'm sure you guys too are probably like, huh? Like, it's quite a bit. Jeez. Y'all already know. Be sure to show some love to Island XD. Island XD. Be sure to show some love to them as always, you know. Subscribe to their channel. Video will be in the description box below, like I said earlier. And if you enjoyed my reaction, you already know, be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I definitely like checking out these theory videos and stuff. We'll probably check them out, but like more here and there. Since it's like, I like going for the ones about stuff that I really don't know about, so that way I get some good information. But they seem pretty on point, I will say that. And from what I understand, this person apparently predicted what was going to happen in the Inazuma quest a decent amount of time before the quest happened. So I don't know, it seems like they got some reliable sources. They'd be doing good research. But yeah, other than that, appreciate y'all, love y'all. Road to 4,000 subscribers. We're trying to hit that this month. If you could subscribe, it helps very, very much. And other than that, stay safe. And as always, don't do crack.
Be sure to subscribe to the Special K Experience if you enjoyed this video. If not, you're going to Femboy IHOP.